Folks, hello, it's me, Denny Carter. Welcome to another episode of the Dad Season Show. This is called episode 6. And for the second time in the Dad Season universe, history, whatever you want to call it, I have a guest. And today's guest is my former Fantasy Mensa brother and good friend in the fantasy football industry, Pete Overzet. Everybody give Pete a hand. Hello, Pete.
How many years do you think we need to be removed from Fantasy Mensa references before no one knows what we're talking about when we say that?
I would say 20, give or
Okay.
take.
Okay. So we still have a good amount of time.
Right. I mean, 20, what was it, 2019, 2020?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we still, till 2040, I think that's the limit there.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Denny and I believe, we were sponsored by 4 for 4, and we would get together and, do what I would call comedy sketches, fantasy football comedy sketches, once a week or so. And it was a short-lived show. Did we do it for 2 years? We had maybe 20, 25 episodes out there?
I think 20 plus episodes.
Yeah.
They were really fun to make. They were fun to plan. And if folks, I think you can find it on YouTube. I think you can find most of them on YouTube. It takes a little searching, but you can get it done. Everybody always wanted a landing page. Everybody said, I need a Fantasy Mensa landing page. We never got around to that, but they are out there. There was one time, without context, I filmed a sketch while fully clothed in a bathtub full of water. And and then Pete said, wait. Did you actually get in a bath for the sketch?
I think I was like, let's spoof those Cialis ads or whatever when the couple are in the bathtubs. And so I've said, just we're in the bathtub, for the intended effect. They don't have to know there's not water.
Right. And
he sends me over. I was crying.
I never considered any other option. I was like, I told Melissa, I was like, I got to fill out the bathtub and I got to get in. And my son was very young. He looked at me, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing work. This is work. Okay. I'm getting paid.
Yeah. I believe that was spoofing the high T drafters, because we were selling the low T testosterone pills, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
To manage to draft one receiver in the early rounds. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, are those days over? The days of the high T drafter? Has just the ADP and the landscape and the devaluing of the running position killed the high T drafter?
Sort of. I do think every summer we're going to see a push late in the summer to be like, I don't care what the analytics nerds say. I'm going RB, and this is why, and it's like a 15-part thread, and people will read it and be like, yeah, that's how I do it. Now I think that you are in an environment, in the underdog best ball environment, where you're surrounded by the sharpest minds, who draft teams ever, throughout the year. But really, like normie drafts, they're still dominating the running backs early,
You're right. And you're completely right, because I just saw it in my mind's eye. We're going to get this tweet in a couple of months. Why isn't Derrick Henry going 101 overall? My column, that take is coming. It is.
100%. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it is. Yes. Why is Saquon my RB1 overall?
Yeah. I'm sure I've already seen that one.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm dead ass have seen that one. Yeah.
They're starting early. Well, so folks, thanks for joining the show. I see folks in the chat filling up in the chat here. I will click on some comments as we go here, but I wanted to start real quick by asking Pete about his dad's season so far, the season of his life. Tell us a little bit about that, Pete.
Yeah, I became a first-time dad last December. April is 15 months now. She started walking about 3 months ago. And that's obviously opened up an entire new world. I feel like before, when we were just trying to think of activities, you're just so limited. And now it's oh, let's just go to the mall and let her run around, or we'll go on a combo hike to a park and then let her play. And it feels like it's opened it up, or it's we can just go to the grocery store and I can just let her run around and meet people. And so I've very much enjoyed the world opening up and not feeling so confined to a limited amount of activities.
Did you feel like in jail with nap times?
I still kind of I love our weekends when we get to go out and do stuff, but it still is a race of how much stuff can we get done during that ambiguous 1 to 2 hour window.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then the nightmare, if I remember correctly, is when the baby is kind of rolling around in the crib and
Yeah.
not actually going to sleep, and you're like, "Come on, the clock's got to stop. I mean, the clock's got to start at some point, baby. You got to go to
I
sleep.
know.
Come
I
on."
know, and, like, but how many, Lauren and I constantly messaging, like, we'll take turns, like, watching the monitor. It's like, "Is she down yet? Give me the time, and then I'm gonna start my clock. Alright, based on her recent stuff, I probably have about a buck 30 right now
Uh-huh.
to get this kinda stuff done."
I remember maybe this was just me being a little bit neurotic, but I remember with our second child, Eleanor, she's 7 now. She when she would rub her eyes as a baby,
Mm.
I would immediately like scoop her up and take her up to
It's
her.
just the first side of it, yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about before she could even lower her arm from her eye. I would have my hands on her, and we would go. And I mean, this was around nap time anyway. So
Yeah.
if whatever nap time was, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever it was, and she's rubbing, it's like whatever I'm doing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I could be on an important Zoom call, whatever. I say no, I gotta go, gotta get this baby upstairs, and that worked pretty well. But my wife did say you don't have to be that neurotic.
That it is funny though, because you're trying to hit that sweet spot, right? Where if you go too early, then she's sitting up in her crib for too
Oh.
long and she's getting fed. But if you go too late, then she's having meltdowns, and it's like you're trying to triangulate that perfect time. I think I'm somewhere after like 3 or 4 eye rubs, then it's like, all right, now it's go time.
Yeah, you definitely know when they're getting tired, or in the car. I remember in the car, I would actually reach back and shake their leg to keep them awake. To be like, no, 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 you cannot go to sleep in the car. We got to get home. I got to get you in the crib. I'm not doing this. First, I'm not going to drive around for an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
I will if I have to, and I've done that. But
I'll kill the
also,
environment for a decent nap. Yeah.
yeah, right. But also, you want them. Yeah, right. You want them in the crib. You want them having like a good sleep. To get them through the day. We actually took nap time too far. At one point, we had we actually hired a sleep
Oh, you
specialist.
told me this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a really good investment. Very expensive, but a very good investment. And at some point, she was like, "Okay, now your son doesn't need to be napping this much. Like you guys are overdoing
So
it."
good at sleep.
And she right, and she was right, and she was very straightforward about it, which was helpful. Like there was no beating around the bush with this sleep expert. She was like, like, 'cause she knew it was an expensive thing. She like, I'm going to give you the information, and you need to execute it as I say. So
Yeah.
it was good. But I did want to mention that the folks out there need to subscribe to the PO box, which is um, your blog. It's I'll link to it in the comments in a second here. You have two things I wanted to mention. First of all, Pete, I was rereading this piece that you wrote in December 2023. So last December, the title is Three Things I've Learned as a Dad, and I was rereading it before the show, and I was laughing out loud. And I don't mean that as like smirking and then like writing online LMAO, like I was actually you got me a few times. Very funny uh stuff as always. You mentioned like being into optimization, being into like efficiency.
Yeah.
You also had this quote in there from an author, and now I can't find it. Shoot. But it was about like oh, here we go, the shortcomings of efficiency and productivity. It says, quote, productivity is a trap. Becoming more efficient just makes you more rushed, and trying to clear the decks simply makes them fill up again faster. And that really resonated with me, especially with like being a dad, like being a
Yeah.
parent and trying to be super efficient. I'm guessing that resonated with you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think it's weird, right? Because you almost are trying to compartmentalize the efficiency. Like when the baby's sleeping, like you necessarily have to be efficient. There's things that have to get done, whether it's grocery shopping or exercise or cleaning or whatever kinds of things you do need to do. Like you need to be efficient. You want to be efficient. But then you have to like turn off that part of your brain when you're with your kid, because then
Mhm.
that's where like efficiency ceases to exist. And so that's something that I think is a little bit of whiplash, because I do find myself having that mentality. We're going to go do this, and then we'll get to go do this.
Yeah.
And now, there's certain things like with a kid where time can just slow down in a way. Like one example that I've really enjoyed lately, now that she's walking, is we'll take her on a walk in the stroller around our neighborhood. But then when we get back to our street where there's not as many cars, I'll just walk with her that last block on the street, take her out of the stroller. And it will be, as you can imagine, with a 15-month-old, the most meandering, long, inefficient walk of your life. Like it could take us a half an hour to get back to our house.
Right.
But normally I'm just like, get to point A to point B. But with this, it's like, no, it literally is the journey of watching her run around, pick stuff up. And so I kind of like that yin and yang of it.
Yeah. You wrote about pre-nostalgia in one of your posts. And I thought that was an interesting concept. It's something I don't believe I had heard of it before, but you said, practicing pre-nostalgia, you said, I'm constantly soaking in all of the little moments, her cheersing with her cup and saying it with the cutest lisp, cracking herself up, playing peekaboo with a blanket, dancing on command, pointing to every duck or bear in a book and making sure I see them too, which is helpful. I've always been bad at remembering to take photos and videos, and especially so with April, but it's because I find myself trying to film those moments in my head and really relish them. And so I read that and I said, hey, wait, that's what I do. I'm not a big picture taker. I find, actually, I read something that influenced me on this subject. I read something that said that you're less likely to remember something if you take a picture of it or a video of it, because you're actually like ceding responsibility to your phone or to the cloud, okay, and to say you will remember this, cloud, but I won't.
That makes so much sense, because think about it. There are literally like streets by my house that I don't know the names to, because, you just always throw on the GPS, or it like defaults to being on. So if you have no reason to ever remember it, like you will not remember it. I think that probably works the exact same way. And yeah, I've had a few of those moments lately. Like she's just saying some like really hilarious things. Like she has this kind of like figurine doll set. It's like the Peter Rabbit set. And I just started calling the pig, I call him Pigman. And I say, you want to see Mr. Pigman? And she says it with this like real like guttural, she's like, Pigman, Pigman. And like, I keep wanting to get a film of that because it's just so funny, but I never have my phone upstairs when I do the bath and the bedtime. Like my phone's ever wet. So I still don't have a video of it. And I have it emblazoned in my memory, but it's that push pull of like, I want to document this because it's so cute. But then also every night I love just relishing in the moment of her like a savage saying Mr. Pigman.
That is funny. I want to get to your writing about prison workouts in a second. when folks tuned into Dad Season show, they knew they would hear about working out in jail. I do want to say that I remember my parents buying a really fancy, I guess we called them camcorders back then, in like the mid 90s. And it was fancy because it was small. It wasn't one of these like it didn't look like an NBC cameraman on the sideline on Sunday Night Football.
Takes up one of the bays in the garage.
Yeah, right. I mean, carrying an 80-pound camera around. It was like small. It was handheld. You just slid it on your hand and walked around. It had one of those flip out screens. It was the coolest thing ever. Okay, I made my brother tape my golf swing and analyzed it via the camcorder. Anyway, so we have those videos and we converted them to DVD a few years ago, and those are the coolest things. I treasure those things, but they were used very selectively. Like we use the camcorder selectively, whereas with the phone and the ubiquity of phones and the fact that we always have them out, or at least always on us somewhere, you can tape, and you are prone to tape anything, record anything that's happening all the time. And so you have reams and reams and reams of memories recorded and downloaded to the cloud. And so I feel like, and maybe push back if you disagree here, but I do feel like when you have that much memory recorded, you don't have any, because none of it's special because it's all the time. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel that way. Honestly, the one thing that keeps me from doing more documenting than I probably would is because my parents, still live in Colorado, and my dedication to documenting is their primary vehicle to getting to see her day to day. Like, obviously we do, our calls, and they get to, see her in real time a decent bit. But like, whenever there's something cute, I just know my mom and my
Yeah,
dad are going to
yeah,
absolutely eat it up.
yeah.
And so a lot of times it's I feel like I've let go of that need for myself, but I feel like I know her grandparents want to see this. And so I'm constantly weighing that stuff of like, yeah, it'd be really nice not to go run and grab my phone and just like live in this moment. But I'm also like, man, grandma would really like to see her first bubble
Wow.
bath right now.
That's actually that I feel the same way with I mean, my parents live 5 minutes down the street, but I'm like, oh man, like my kids look so cute today, dressed up in like Pokemon outfits, that I have to take a picture. I have to first of all, wrangle them. Okay, so like get them away from the TV, whatever, get them together, take a picture, send it to my mom, send it to my aunt, maybe
Yeah.
post it on Facebook with a cute caption.
Yep.
Okay, so in that way, I guess as talk about it, in that way, it becomes like work, like an actual responsibility to record the moments of your kids' lives. And part of this show is like is how 21st century dadding is much different than like our dads had it, or definitely their dads. So I feel like that's part of it, is that I don't believe that my dad ever felt a responsibility to share pictures or video with anybody.
Right. Because then you do really have to start unpacking psychologically. Am I doing this because I really want to document it? Or am I doing it because I have addiction to my phone and
Oh,
social media? And this provides me with a pretty valid excuse for being on there.
wow, that's Pete, you're attacking me again.
I'm attacking myself. Uh,
I do hate the phone. I'm also like in a business where I have to be connected.
yeah.
So as you are, we'll get to that maybe a little later. I wanted to mention, before we get to the comments, I want to mention on Pete's PO Box blog, which again, check that out, subscribe when you get a chance. Oh, I'm actually gonna put it in the chat right now. That's why I don't forget.
Thank
Here.
you.
All right, folks.
I
There it
should
is.
mention it's not exclusively dad stuff. It's
No.
kind of a hodgepodge of,
Right.
might be fantasy, might be fitness. But I doing this show already is it's fun talking dad stuff. I don't like talking from a position of authority or experience. Like, I'm
I
15 months into my
Yeah.
first child, but it is something where it's like nice to put some of those thoughts out there. No stuff resonates. Talk with you. I've learned a lot from so many other dads in the space sharing things, and so I do kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it's good. Like I can see, like you wanna get things off your chest, like you want to get things out there. And I know I can speak for myself. Anytime I have a thought that I feel like is worth sharing, then I put it online. Can't have a thought to myself.
That's right.
Why would we do that when it could be content? It's like the when I did your podcast last summer, it literally could have been just a call, just a phone call between
Yes.
us. But
I
why not convert it to content?
I was just laughing because literally earlier today, I saw a post on Instagram. I don't know if you're familiar with the Huberman Lab guy, Dr. Huberman, and then the Lex Friedman, the guy who does like that
Oh,
big podcast.
yeah.
But there was a photo, like a selfie, and Huberman took it of him and Friedman, and like the caption was, Lex and I realized that every time we always got together, it was only for content. And so this past week, we just got together to hang out and experience life together and talk. And I'm just laughing as it's his Instagram selfie
Right.
of them. I'm like, yeah, even when we try to
Yeah.
not make it content, it ends up as content.
And it has 800,000 likes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Also, please like and subscribe when you're done reading
Right,
this
right.
post.
No, it's nothing. Nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
Anything in life can be converted instantly into content, and therefore subscribers and money. So there we go.
And
Uh,
it is, and it again, like with everything, it like cuts both ways, because yes, it does feel like, man, we should just be better friends and communicate. It's also like, we all understand how many people you fade away from. There's not enough time in the day
right.
to like keep up with all my high school friends and college
Oh,
buddies and blah blah blah, and to where like actually having an excuse. Like now, if you have a kid, right, that can be an excuse to meet up with another couple,
Sure.
another family. It provides that vehicle. It's like us doing content. Like this gives us the excuse where neither of us are probably otherwise saying on a Monday, hey, do you just want to hop on the phone for an hour? It's like we almost need the nudging to
Yeah.
continue to maintain our friendship, even if it's just done publicly.
That's absolutely right. Every time I have a phone call with Pat Doherty, we end the conversation with something along the lines of, "This could have been a podcast.
Yeah.
We should have just put this online."
Well,
Um,
I've noticed that because I've been doing my after dark shows, which are essentially, similar format to this, where we just kind of shoot the shit, talk about whatever. It doesn't have to be fantasy
right.
related. And I now start saying, we'll be talking about just life, casual things before the show, and then I have to say, save it for the show. People want to hear this part of the
Yes.
conversation more than the actual questions or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tell the folks about your show, about your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, it's for YouTube members. I've been doing this show called After Dark, and again, just bringing people from around the industry. I try to get a mix of people that I know really well, so we can just have a really casual, loose conversation, and then people I've never done a show with, or I just want to get to know. And so, try to change the speed of the shows, and normally just go hour plus on a Saturday evening, getting to know the guests. Like I did one with Tez Seth from Sumer Sports the other
Yeah,
day. I'd
I
never
love
done
that
a
guy.
show with him, never
Yeah.
really interacted. And so that was great. And then a couple weeks ago, I did it with JJ. And then we're just kind of shooting the shit about 90s nostalgia. So we can change directions on a dime there.
I've heard of Tej, never heard of JJ. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
That's,
never. Is
uh,
he still, has he been on the show, or is his appearance fee still unreasonable?
we're still efforting. Agents are talking. We're gonna get him, folks. One day or not. I'm gonna meet his price point. We're gonna get him on here.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So Tyler says Pete has a YouTube channel. He does, and you should subscribe.
Breaking news.
It is good stuff. Yeah. So I wanted to just quickly talk about your blog, your piece on prison workouts, which is great, and it's something. It's a concept like the pre-nostalgia that I recognize, from my experience as a dad. You said that your routine has been flipped on its head, like the slate, obviously. And you said instead of setting specific fitness goals after having your first child there, instead of setting specific fitness goals and optimizing for improvement, like I've done previously, I've shifted to optimizing purely for showing up and doing something, anything. I realize that sounds trite, but I don't really know any other way to describe it. If I can just do one thing every day, even if it's only for 20 minutes, I'll chalk it up as a W. I've started calling these quick sessions prison workouts because most of the stuff I can do, I can reliably squeeze in like push-ups, pull-ups, planks, burpees, sprints up a hill near my house, etc. So, are you still doing that? Is that still a thing now that April's a little bit older, or have you gotten back to your regular routine?
I have for the first time now kind of gotten back to like an actual program. So it's been a shift, but that kind of mentality was huge for me for basically the first year of her birth. Because even before that, I would just like, you know how it is like with working out, we all have to trick ourselves with some kind of motivation
Yeah.
nugget, whether it could be aesthetic goals, it could be health goals, it could be you have an event or you're trying to get a PR and something. Like I would do like 5Ks and that would motivate me. Like I don't want to, suck wind on this 5K. So that'll help push me. Like you just create these little things. And then when we had April, it was like I didn't have anything on the horizon. I didn't have any set goal. I didn't think I had the time to even properly go for a goal. So I was like, you know what? I know that I literally feel better anytime I sweat after a workout. I'm just going to try to do that. And so it'd be like, oh, April's nursing. I'm just going to do a few push-ups or whatever and not beat myself up that I couldn't do a full workout and just do something. So I literally had a few beads of sweat and could chalk it up as, oh, I did something today.
A few beads of sweat. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, if that's all really like, if you're an involved dad, a few beads of sweat is really all you can muster some days. And you don't have the time or capacity to like get in like a full workout to be, well, I would say to be precious about your workout, to
Yeah.
like put on all the right clothes, like tie your shoes extra tight, like stretch out the hamstrings, hydrate beforehand, whatever you do. Okay. Like pull a Michael Scott and eat a bunch of pasta, the carb load. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like, that's all out the window. Like you cannot be precious about it. And it was kind of a rude awakening for me. I had just got into running when my second child was born, and uh, I had to stop because I just didn't have the time or capacity. I was on family leave. I had a job that gave family leave, really generous benefits. So that was obviously worked out for me and for us as a family. But I had to stop running for a while, and I was upset about it. But I realized there were other ways, to break a sweat, to do jumping jacks, like you said, pull
Yeah.
ups, push ups, whatever. Like just quickly. Sometimes it would be in the kids' room while they,
Yeah.
like I would put them, they would be playing or whatever, and I would just get down and do some push ups, like just anything. Was there ever a time for you, a moment for you that it kind of caught you off guard, or were you prepared for that, like mentally?
No, it definitely caught me off guard because I think in my head, I knew it was going to be such a massive shift, but I didn't even think there was any way to plan for it. So it literally was like, we all naturally look forward in our lives after this. I think it was just like a black wall in my head. It's like the kid comes and then we're going to burst through it. And I have
Yeah.
no idea what I'm going to see. So I didn't really plan, but I knew, like, previous to having a kid, like one of my things would be like, oh, if we're just around on the weekends, me and Lauren, and we don't have anything going on, it's like Lauren would go do her thing. And I would just spend so much time at the gym, not even being efficient. It's just, I would like, my gym was like 2.5 miles from my house. I was like, I'll walk to the gym and then I'll do like an hour and a half workout and dick around between sets. And then I'll go to the sauna for 30 minutes and then I'll walk home. I'll just do a 4-hour just lounging around. And then I'm like, holy cow, I don't know how to adapt what I was doing in this new paradigm.
Right. And now you have a sauna at home.
I brought the sauna home. I said that one I'm not willing to sacrifice.
You called it the best purchase of your life, right?
It is. It's been. I feel very fortunate that I was able to pull that off, and by that I mean my dad helping me put it together because I would have never been able to do that
Dude, I
myself.
was wondering how you did that, honestly.
No, there's zero chance I was going to be able to do that. It was either I was going to pay someone a certain amount of money to do that, or I was going to very I don't know, serendipitously happened to find my dad out here at the time I had ordered the sauna. There was no way I was trying to orchestrate those strings
Yeah,
together.
right.
But the sauna is like a legitimate motivational tactic for me for working out, because I've said this before, but it's like I go and set the timer and it heats up in about 35, 40 minutes. That's a pretty good amount of time to get a workout in. And
Yeah.
so anytime I go do it, I'm like, I know I'm going to sweat in the sauna anyways. Might as well go get that workout. So the second I turn that knob, I'm like, all right, the clock's ticking. Go get this workout in until the sauna's ready.
That is good stuff. Yeah, I actually talked on last week's Dad Season episode about how luxurious I used to be with my time. Like you mentioned, a 4-hour
Yeah.
walking around doing nothing gym session. You weren't in a hurry, and I remember being like, I'm gonna go to the golf course and I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm gonna chip balls. I'm gonna putt. I might play 9. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'll be back at some point. I'll text
Maybe
you
I'll
when I'm
make friends and play 36. Who
right.
knows?
And we're gonna go out and have dinner and drinks afterwards. So
Yeah.
that and I'll meet you there. I said this to my wife. So it's like and then you hit that mark, that father mark, that dad season mark, and you go, oh, right. I can't do that anymore. And for me, I was not like you. I actually didn't consider how different it would be, and that was on me. That was on me. Uh,
It's funny. Oh, go ahead.
Diego Lopez, friend of the show, says having a child is definitely like crossing an event horizon. That's a really good way of saying it. You can't know what it looks like from the outside, and it's impossible to accurately describe from the inside. Man,
Very
that's
well said.
that's really good. And folks are clapping for Diego in the comments. So I think that yeah. So that's what I mean is like you can, like, I read books, on
Yeah.
parenting, and like watch YouTube stuff. I don't know if that's recommended or not. It depends on who you're watching, but like trying to prep. I mean, because if I get into something, I'm into something. I think we're
Yeah.
similar. We're similar in that way, where we both turned a hobby into a profession. So I
It,
guess we are similar,
what's
but I couldn't be prepared.
No, and I think what I realized after the fact, because I did the same things. You watch some of the videos, you read some of the books. What you're actually doing is trying to just make yourself less scared. It's
Yes.
almost like if you were terrified to go bungee jumping, watching a video of someone bungee jumping isn't going to change like how you feel and what you experience. But you're like, this person survived. So that gives me a little bit more confidence that this is going to be okay. So I think just watching it is like, all right, these people went through it and they don't even seem that sharp. So I'll probably be fine. Like, even though
Exactly.
you don't know, you're just trying to normalize it for yourself.
Absolutely. Diego's back with another comment. He just did 10 push-ups in jeans and a hoodie. Please
There,
clap. We are clapping. Good job, Diego. We're proud of you. And then Matt in the comments says, if my hamstring is going to pop, so be it. Ain't got time for all that stretching. And yeah, I mean, I like to say, or I used to like to say that lions don't stretch before they hunt. But the
yeah.
thing is, here's the thing, they
Is that a
do.
Marquez Valdez Scantling quote?
Is it?
Do you remember? It was, I want to say it was the, when he came in, that was one of the red flags on his profile. Apparently there should have been more, but it was like his dad, right? Because he was an Olympian or a track
Oh,
star.
right, right,
And he
right.
said that his kids didn't stretch. And I remember that was like raising a lot of red flags when he was entering the league.
Oh man, so the lion thing turns out not to be true. Lions actually do stretch for a
They do stretch.
considerable amount of
Okay.
time. I thankfully I've only suffered one hamstring injury while running. It was not fun, and actually it comes out of nowhere. I didn't even know what was happening when it happened. Like I felt like a tweak in the back of my leg, and I was like, "What is that?"
Oh,
Like
geez.
it was like, "What is that?" Oh well, I'll keep going, and of course I made it worse after that. Um, all right, let's see. Let's get to a few more comments. Yeah, so Tyler says, my motivation is spite and vanity. It rarely runs dry. Me too. Also, you mentioned, Pete, that part of your motivation was haters and losers telling you that a dad bod was inevitable. Which one?
That one legitimate, like that's my version of spite. That one helps me. I don't go to that well often, but like I would say like once every month I'll think of like the dad bod thing or people telling me that. Like I one time, it's funny too how if it's public, I heard like Pat Mayo and Davis and like I came up on their pod or something and that they said like a dad bod was inevitable for me. I'm like, don't give me that bulletin board material because I
Wow, that is bull. That you better keep that on there.
Oh, it's all, it's like in the brain. I didn't even have to write it down. It'll be seared there forever.
Wow, and knowing you and knowing your commitment to fitness, I believe that you will never develop a dad bod. So that my guess is that, but I don't want to demotivate you, by the way.
Yeah.
But I would bet on you not having one. I will say that my exercise routine has stayed relatively the same over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
My fitness has not. So I think getting older actually does have some effect on muscle building or like weight loss or whatever it is.
Oh,
But
for sure.
really, and you wrote about this, like maintaining is achievable. I think you can maintain. You said that you had a coach who said you either get better or you get worse every day.
Yeah.
But and that's, I mean, that's valid. He has a point. But I will say that maintaining in the busyness of dad season is a good deal.
For sure. And like part of the like the prison workout and even like a long stretch, like I was at, because so much of like health and fitness a lot of time is geared toward specific progress, like getting better incrementally over and over. The work is never done. And it's like I sometimes needed the relief of you can be in maintenance mode. Like you can show up, you can do your thing. Yeah, maybe you aren't working or optimizing for a specific goal, but like for me, it's like you have so many other things going on in your life that this does have to go to the back burner. And, people will say, like, stuff on the back burner, like it's not going to become important or whatever. And it's like, no, this is a plate I want to keep spinning,
Right.
even though it's not going to be the intense part of my focus at the time.
What about for you? Because I know you're a reader, and
I'm trying to be.
yeah, and I am also trying to be. I actually hesitate to call myself a reader because my reading has been so here and there. Like I'll get into a book, I'll like eat it up, and then I won't read anything for like a month or two. So how's that going for you? Are you able to make time for reading as a dad?
Well, it's funny because I actually think of like the building the reading habit, which I'm trying to do right now. It's so similar to like stuff with health and fitness and reminds me of like pre-kid. And I think I had written about this when I launched the book club for the PO box, where it was like, I used to have this morning routine, where I would wake up and I would just read for like an hour and a half or whatever before the day. And now that's time spending time with April, getting her breakfast, getting her ready before we have work and stuff like that. And so it's like that time's no longer there. So you're
Right.
having to get creative, but then realizing like you still want to make time for it, but I wasn't making time for it. And because I didn't have a routine or a habit base like I do with fitness, like it just completely fell to the wayside. And so I've been trying to build up the habits around reading. And the first thing I did was just no phone in the bedroom. And so I read my Kindle
Mm.
at night. And at first that just started with like, 10 to 15 minutes. I get exhausted, because you're reading and that
Yeah.
puts you to sleep. So I wasn't reading that much, but then I'd get hooked on a book. And then it's like, oh, on the weekend, I have a little spare time. Instead of going to my phone, I'm picking up the book. Or, I have a little time during the day. I'm not reaching for my phone. I actually want to pick up where I left in the book. And so I've basically tricked myself into reading more than I think I initially would have.
That's actually a great strategy. So when you instead, you're telling me that instead of getting a dopamine hit from your phone, you will choose the less dopamine inducing book.
What helps though is, again, I think I mentioned too when I launched the book club that I was going to try to pull every lever possible, and being publicly accountable for this, because I'm saying, hey, I'm going to read 2 books a month. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to give updates in the newsletter. Like I feel that I'm like, okay, on Friday, I'm going to be writing and I don't want to say that I'm at the same percent in the book that I was
Yeah.
last week. So I'm like, I got to keep reading. I want to have some thoughts. I want to keep some notes. I want to see what other people are saying about it. And so I'm needing to pull that public accountability lever, because otherwise I think it would be too easy, at least early on in the habit process, for me to just go back to my ways and be like, yeah, I'll just draft fantasy teams right now instead.
So I do think with parents looking for a time for themselves, some me time, whatever you want to call it. I do think that there is the easiest fallback is just to open your phone and scroll whatever, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, Facebook, whatever if you're a boomer, I guess, and really like waste or use that, not waste, but use that time doing that. I've tried to get away from that by actually like physically like putting my phone somewhere else, like charging it in the sunroom or charging it
Yeah.
in the kitchen or whatever, and being in the living room and reading and trying to, because I honestly, like, I feel like I am such a broken brain that I will reward myself by looking at my phone after reading, like, I don't know, 2 pages.
Yeah. No, I've
Ridiculous.
I've definitely been there. It is the it having like removing the temptation. It's the same thing when people talk about like sweets in the house, right? It's what's harder, to resist the fact that you have a, truckload of Girl Scout cookies
Yeah,
there, or just to not have Girl Scout cookies
I
there.
know. I
And
know.
it is wild to me with my phone, like how psychological it is. Like if I go out on a walk, and I don't take my phone on our walks anymore, but if I have it in my pocket, I'll reflexively check it probably 3 to 4 times over
Me
the
too.
course.
Yes.
But if I don't have it, it's not like I'm going through withdrawals, like where I need a phone patch and I'm like reaching for it. It's just like, no, I don't even think about it when I know it's not even there. It's
Yeah.
when it's there that I'm like, gotta check it, gotta check it.
Yeah, and I did a video, if folks want to check it out, on the Dad Season YouTube page, about trying to hear what my kids want to tell me, whether it's something at school, whether it's negative, positive, whatever, and really engaging, like, in eye to eye contact, like active listening, that sort of thing, without battling the desire to get on my phone. And if I have my phone in my pocket, say, and it's buzzing, and I know I'm getting blown up by a coworker, a friend, something. It's about politics, it's about sports, whatever. Then I cannot focus. I cannot fully focus on what my kid is saying, and then that, of course, breeds like like hate, like, like resentment toward the phone, resentment toward yourself, like really like tons of negative feelings. So I have been trying to get away from my phone. Of course, I never know what time it is anymore because I don't have my phone, and I come back to it, and I have 27 missed calls and texts that I have to get to. But I really do feel like the physical separation part is something that I have to do. And maybe if you want to try that at home, the folks listening, you might see similar results. I don't know.
Yeah, it's no, and it works both ways for me. to your point, like at night, when I leave it at my desk, it helps me, I read, I don't have anything to get distracted on when I go to bed. But then on the flip side, in the morning, I hang out with April and do breakfast with her and stuff before I come down. Normally I get to my desk about 8:30. So I normally have that 90 minutes too, where I know otherwise I would wake up, I'd have some Discord messages from overnight, some DMs, some emails, and then all of a sudden my mind's racing, just the way my mind works. I think maybe other people are better at like shifting things, but the second I kind of open the day's Pandora's box, then I'm thinking through, okay, I want to reply to that. Oh, that reminds me here. Whereas when I wake up and I don't have it, I'm almost in this like the day is a fresh canvas, and I find myself being more present because I haven't put that stuff on my plate. Like I don't even know it exists. Like there might be a fire I need to put out, but as of right now, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, me too. So in the morning, I try to delay opening the phone as much as possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes
Yeah.
I have three texts where from, my mother-in-law who's going to pick up the kids, and, my wife who's already at work, and I'm doing all this arranging and whatnot. But I do try to delay, just real quick, getting back to like making time for yourself. And I did an episode last week on what I call it, like you're right. And I actually got it from from a book by Eve Rodsky called Fair Play. I mentioned during that episode where you're right to be interested and interesting as a parent, where you don't have to give up everything. You do have to give up some things, but you don't have to give up everything, including your passions and hobbies. Like it is possible for you to carve out that time. But I will say, and Pete, let me know if you're different. I think you would say yes, you are different than me in this regard. I'm not. Naturally, I'm not a planner at all, and I would describe myself as like a type B. Okay, like before parenthood, I never kept a calendar. Okay, nothing. Like if it was here, and if I forgot it, oh well, but you can't. I feel like you can't do that if you're going to be in like an involved parent, an involved dad. It just doesn't work. I tried it. The reason I know it doesn't work is because I tried it, and it and it failed spectacularly many times. Did you have that experience, or no? You were probably the opposite?
I definitely fall in the planner camp. I'm kind of like meticulous with that stuff, but I also feel like I've had to let go of that impulse with stuff because there is so many things that are, you want to be unstructured. You're not trying to be living by an exact, military
Yeah.
timeline when you're doing stuff. And it's a push pull with that stuff. And I know like even like, I'll take April to the park, and then Lauren's like, wait, you guys said you're gonna be back by 6:15, for dinner. And then like I sometimes, find myself too at the moment and pulling in the other direction or whatever. And it's a constant balance, because I think one thing that stuck out to me when people were talking about having kids that I've internalized is this idea of routines, not schedules. And
Mm,
that was huge for me because I was a big schedule guy, but
right.
understanding like, hey, we're going to hit the same notes with April, but they might not be at the exact time. It might not even be in the exact order that I want it to be, but that routine can be intact even if it's not at the exact times.
Yeah. No, routine's not, and that's something you wrote about in the PO box site. So folks should check out that as well. Uh, there were some comments I wanted to get to. Matt in the chat says, getting back to the documenting of every single thing that a child does. Most of the time, I think to grab the phone and video or photo, the moment I wanted to capture is already gone. Um, I don't really know how parents do that unless they're constantly at the ready. I,
Yeah.
I mean, is so if you have your phone like out and like ready to snap at any moment, I'm never in that position.
Yeah, no, I feel that too. Or it's like even, say if April's saying something cute, you might be able to get her to say it again, but there is something where the magic is lost. That third time was like the first time, that burst of energy or the
Yes.
surprise of it of like, holy cow. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
there's
I
something about the
appreciate that.
spontaneity of the moment that escapes like the actual recording sometimes. We have a DM Philippi. I don't know. My wife recorded some bedtime stories with our son around age 3 that we all get to enjoy now with our daughter, who is that age now. Um, so thanks for mentioning this, because I've actually done audio recordings of my kids reading at
That's
very
cool.
at young ages, 4, 5, 6 years old, where I for some reason I feel like listening to their voice, which will never sound like that again. It will never be as high pitched, as babyish as
Yeah.
and that's hard to capture when you see them every day, because it's like, well, that's just what they sound like. But I
Yeah.
promise you, like I recorded something my son read, just audio again, when he was 5 years old. Now he's 11, and I listened back to that, and he sounds like an actual baby, and it's adorable. And I'm so glad that I only have it on the audio version. I don't want the video
Yeah.
version.
I think too, tell me how having older kids, because one thing I think about is like, it's not that I'm wanting necessarily capture a specific moment, because like Matt was saying in the chat, it's really hard to capture the magic of it, but I want to remember that specific period of time, like when they were in this stage.
Yeah,
And when you have, a 15-month-old, like the changes, they go from like 9 months to 15 months, like the development is insane, like
yeah.
literally from saying nothing and laying on the ground to walking and talking and communicating their wants and needs. And so it's like, I feel like right now there's a ton of stages I want to capture. Do you feel like that changes when they get a little older and the stages spread out and you're like, they're probably going to be like this for the next 6 months? Like, or does that feeling never go away?
No, I don't think it ever goes away, really. I mean, it changes in that they're more self-sufficient. You're at least a little less worried about them, uh, not being able to handle themselves. Like, I mean, the fact that I can sometimes like leave, I can take the dog on a walk and leave my son here, and he's fine. Like that's something that definitely changes. But as they get older, I do think that you still see small shifts, like you said. Maybe they're not as dramatic. I think that the dramatic stuff comes early on. But that is a good question. It is strange being the dad of a my son will be in middle school next year, believe it or not. And that is a totally different ball game, because now the social life is happening, and
Yeah.
now I'm driving him around to friends' houses constantly. Like, this is what I do now in my life, is I just drive all day in our Kia minivan. And
Denny the chauffeur.
you know what we've been doing, Pete? We've been doing Pokemon Go raids.
Okay.
And this is where I go pick up his friends, and we go to a location on the Pogo app. This is what the kids call it, Pogo.
Yeah.
And they raid something, and they get cool Pokemon stuff. So this is
Okay.
what I do. I've been on Saturday I drove around for 2.5 hours doing this. So that's
So when you drop them off at the location, are you like going home to kill the time, or are you waiting until they're done with
no.
their mission there?
I no, I have to stay there.
Yeah.
I stay there. So that's where I bring my book, and
There you go.
here's the upside of my kid being obsessed with Pokemon Go. He needs my phone to play it.
Oh,
And
yeah, because he doesn't have his own phone.
right, well,
So
he
he
has.
takes your phone and you are stuck with just your book.
I'm stuck. Here's what I'm stuck with. I'm stuck with NPR and my book in the
Is
car.
that who I've been DMing with? Is this whole time?
It is.
He scheduled this show?
He did. He did. He's the puppet master. He'll be on your show next week.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. Actually, oh man, I just found out this morning that he's been posting on my Facebook page.
This is
And
what he's doing?
he
Like
went,
Pokemon, like it's
yeah.
synced to it or whatever?
Well, so there's a Pokemon Go Maryland page, and he's been going to that and posting, but as me. So it'll be like, hey, my son is trying to get the Raikou at the so and so. Please join him at this location. I don't even know the what.
So he is talking about himself in the third person, though? It's not as if he's trying to impersonate you or whatever?
That's right. No. He's talking about himself in the third person. And here's the
As
thing:
you, yeah.
I'm not even mad about it,
Yeah.
because it's actually the messages are perfectly appropriate. They're very similar to what I would rate. I mean, the grammar is a little off, but
Yeah.
I'll let bygones be bygones.
That's hilarious.
We have Xavier is the interns. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's the one. Denny is just a puppet, and Xavier is, Shadow running
Yeah.
the entire Denny Carter experience.
And he's all obviously going to be a poster when he grows up as well, which I already feel bad for. Nez in the chat says, I see people do this by, I guess, his apartment all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, was also curious. Yeah, people are really into it. And I mean, I'm not judging. Look, I play fantasy football. I talk about fantasy football for a living, so I'm not judging. I will say that I'm surprised by the number of adults who are playing Pokemon Go. There are a lot of them.
I remember when it first came out, it was very popular with all ages. I honestly was surprised that it's still going that strong.
It is, and they have these special events. Of course, the special events require you to buy a $5 pass or whatever
That's
it
how
is.
they get you.
And yeah, that is how they get you. So Xavier actually has a bunch of money saved up that he just shovels my way anytime he needs more Pokemon bucks. So I don't even know what you call them, but I have a bunch of wrinkled $1 bills in my room because he's been paying me.
That's funny.
For that. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes here. If you have any questions for Pete or me about anything we talked about, prison workouts, routine, not, what is it, Pete? Routine, not schedule.
Yeah.
Right. And other concepts that Pete has mentioned in his PO box, let us know. I wanted to ask you, Pete, what are there any, I should say, what is April watching these days? What shows are she watching?
So the one thing that we'll throw on the TV for her is Miss Rachel. Are you familiar with that, or is she
I'm not.
before your kid? Okay. She's a massive YouTuber. And it's kind of a cool story how I basically consider her now like our kids' generation's Mr. Rogers. She throws on her overalls and she started making videos. I believe her son was struggling with some of his speech development stuff, and so she was just making the videos for him to help him like learn. And so then some friends said that they wanted them too, so she started posting them on YouTube, and now she has like 100 million YouTube subscribers.
Wow.
And she'll do all kinds of stuff as far as teaching kids to talk, colors. She'll go to the park. She now has friends, and they do songs, and it's basically like a variety show for kids, and it's very educational, very quality content. So we'll throw that on for April occasionally, let her watch 20 to 30 minutes. And it's funny because I'll be like, do you want to watch some Miss Rachel? And yeah. So she gets very excited. But yeah, right now trying to limit the screen time as much as possible.
I know, and screen time is something I want to get to in a future episode. It is a war against screen time.
I can only imagine, because she's just April at 15 months, she's still ADD enough that like when you turn it off, it's like, okay, whatever, we're on to the next thing. But I think it was even just this past weekend, for the first time, she's like, no, like, don't turn that off. Like, I'm not done. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is the first time, like, I can't just get away with moving you around as I see fit.
Yeah. No, and it trust me, it gets way worse. I mean, I have my son watching YouTube. What are those little ones called? Shorts.
Yeah.
YouTube shorts. Like he's like tethered like to his eyeballs to those things. Like once he starts watching them, it's pretty difficult to get him to stop watching them. My daughter is super into this Netflix show called The Miraculous Ladybug.
Okay, I haven't heard it.
It's a French superhero show with Ladybug is the main character and her sidekick named Cat Noir.
Wait, is it dubbed? If it's French?
I think it is dubbed.
Okay.
I think it is. It's very French. There's so much like class politics in this show that like
I'm waiting for your Bad Faith Times post about the class politics in here.
In Magnificent Ladybug.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. It's not Magnificent. It's Miraculous. The Miraculous Ladybug. That's what it is. Yeah, right. I mean, I could actually write an essay on the class politics of Miraculous Ladybug. But yeah, I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, this is not American. There's no way they would acknowledge class like this in an American show. But she's super into it. She dresses like Miraculous Ladybug now.
Wow.
Runs around the house. She wants to have a birthday party theme of Miraculous Ladybug. So
let me ask you a question about that, because one thing I'm thinking that April really likes to read her books now. Like, that's still an activity where she'll just sit down and want to go through them all, either us reading them to her, or she'll like, flip through them herself. As they get older and, like find shows and things that they like, does that coincide with not wanting to read books as much, or are those not mutually exclusive?
I think I do, in my experience, that is an issue. Is like, instead of reading a book before bed, my daughter will watch the Ladybug show, and it's fine. I mean, there have been times in the past year where she's read her books, voraciously for 6 weeks in a row before bed. But right now she's in a phase, and I kids go in phases. Like, I never thought the Moana phase would end. I literally, I just thought that would just go forever. And today she would scoff at Moana. Oh,
really? Yeah.
Please, I'm not a baby anymore. So she's not reading as much because she's watching that show. Unfortunately, I do think those two things are linked. I had some comments here. I first of all, from Cat Guy, says, I just wanted to mention this. You two are beacons of positivity and kindness in a very often toxic space. So I wanted to say I appreciate you both tremendously.
You're not supposed to pull up the really flattering comments. We're supposed to be more shameful about those.
I'm usually ashamed, but I'm trying to get this show off the ground, Pete.
Thanks, Cat Guy. Hang on, can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
Get the show off the ground. Have you gotten these up in audio form yet, Denny?
I have them on Spotify.
Okay, that's a good start.
I do not have them on iTunes. Okay. Because I can't figure it out.
Denny, I will walk you through it. It is impossibly easy from StreamYard to rip the MP3 and upload it. I do it for all my podcasts. It takes me literally like 5 minutes after a show.
But I need to update my iOS. I don't know about it.
No. So you just upload it to a podcast app. You can do any provider. I use the Anchor one, which is now owned by Spotify, and then it will blast it off to everyone's podcast app of choice. You only have to do it once.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to figure this out, folks. If you're listening, watching on YouTube, whatever, we will get this on iTunes, but Pete will make sure of it since I can't.
Xavier will take care of it.
Yeah. I'm going to connect you with Xavier and you'll do this. Matt says, it's kind of embarrassing, but I feel like 80% of what my daughter knows, she learned from Miss Rachel. She does not pay attention to me and her mom the way she does Miss Rachel. I've never heard of Miss Rachel till right now, guys.
That's crazy. I think Miss Rachel could determine, well, I guess kids aren't old enough to vote, but you know how people are like, who could get more people to vote if like Taylor Swift, gave her, I think Miss Rachel could like weaponize like more of this country than any other influencer.
You could swing an election. You're saying.
Oh, easily. Yeah. Yeah, if kids could vote, she could legitimately swing an election.
She could determine the political future of this country.
There's like entire like memes online. I've seen them on Reddit and TikTok and stuff where they're like moms are just like, protect Miss Rachel at all costs. We need to have this woman in bubble wrap. The future of our children depend on this woman.
Oh man, well, I hope she sticks around for the sake of parents. Patrick Donovan in the chat says, sometimes getting books based off the show that they like gets them more excited to read. And yes, thank you for mentioning that. So, okay, look, my son is like me in that he loves horror. Okay, I'm a big horror guy. Not so much in my old age, but definitely. I mean, I have a treasure trove of horror DVDs. He knows that. He's into it. He likes Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, this is what I'm saying. And so there's a series of Five Nights at Freddy's books, FNAF. This is what they're calling FNAF books, where Xavier loves them. And so he liked the show, he liked the movie. So I got him those, and he has been reading those.
Nice. I'm also just cracking up because, the like the old 80s stereotype of like the teenage boy trying to find where his dad has the Playboy stash. And in your house, it's Xavier trying to find where dad's horror movie stash is.
Right. Where's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6?
Yeah.
I know it's
found this one under the mattress.
I found your 25th anniversary Halloween, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. All the buddies come over and check this out.
Yeah, I learned it from you. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. Pete, I appreciate you taking time to join Dad Season Show. You want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, I would definitely would love if you subscribe to that newsletter. PO Box, completely free. I just do it once a week, drops in your inbox on Friday mornings. It's also probably the best place just to keep tabs on all the stuff I did in the week. I try to round it up, links to shows, newsletter articles, all of that good stuff. And then yeah, over on my YouTube channel, and I guess I'd plug specifically. I have a second YouTube channel as someone. I think Denny and I share an affinity for just like creating a million different
Yeah,
platforms and
right.
being spread too thin. But I do have a channel called the Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel where I'm making some non-live streamed videos over there. But I think most pertinent to this show, the PO Box
Yeah.
newsletter is where I'll try to hit on some more dad thoughts as they come my way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good resource for folks going through dad season. Thanks again, everybody, for joining live in the comment section. I encourage folks to join next week. I'll be live on YouTube Monday at 1 o'clock. You can also, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, find this on Spotify and hopefully soon on iTunes. For Pete, I'm Denny. It remains dad season. And I will end the stream now, and it's the awkward 3 seconds. Peace.